Good afternoon and welcome once again to Let's Straighten It Out. My name is Gordon. I'm a spiritual social life coach as well as an alternative dispute resolution mediator. And lately we've been talking about paternity legitimization. I want to try to bring that to some closure today by talking about the necessity of communication. Communication is the art of talking about what you're thinking, planning, or hoping to achieve when others are involved or affected by your plans. Before undertaking paternity legitimization, both parents should sit down and talk it over. Sometimes we start things without talking it over with the other party. Mediation is the art of reaching an agreement that both parents and parties can agree with. And so that requires talking with one another. Of course, when we jump and do things without talking, we create what I refer to as the volcano effect. Say volcano effect. The volcano effect takes place when everything comes out at once. Everything you've been holding in, everything you've been thinking, everything you've been wanting to say, everything that you've been angry and upset about for a year, months, weeks, all comes out all at once. I refer to that as the volcano effect. Everything erupts all at once. One party vows, you will never see the kids. The other says, I'll see you in court. I'm going to get those kids if it's the last thing I do. Another says, I'm never going to pay child support. And why? Because somewhere along the way, there was a failure to communicate. You're never going to see the children is a response that comes as a result of failure to communicate. Instead of the volcano process or the volcano effect, let me encourage you to vacuum as you go. Say vacuum as you go. Vacuum as you go means that you do not allow things to build up. Hostility, aggravation, frustration, stress, and all of those things. You do not allow them to what? To build up. But at some point, you vacuum as you go. You find a way to sit down and talk about the things that perhaps rub you the wrong way, cause you to feel some kind of way, or may very well have upset you. Most people do not talk. They simply wait until everything builds up and grows, and then, of course, the volcano erupts. They wait till things build up. But we are encouraged, you all, some of you that are listening at me out there, know about that little book that we keep on our shelf, on our counter table, or somewhere near the lampstand that says, "Come, let us reason together." And that's what parents should be doing. They should be reasoning together. Not only parents, but this can go across professional lines. It's always important to talk about things before you do them abruptly. And the reason why so many of our cases in business end up in court is because someone is not willing to sit down and talk. You remember the great rabbi, Jesus, says, agree with your adversary before or unless he carries you before the magistrate. In other words, what the great rabbi, Jesus, is teaching in that particular passage located in Matthew chapter 5, somewhere around the Sermon on the Mount, is that he is saying, listen here, if you know that there's an issue, there's a controversy, there's a heated disagreement, find a way that you and the other person can sit down and agree, talk about it, talk it over before they carry you to court. And mediation is supposed to be a process that alleviates the stress, the strain, and the burdensome need of paying out extreme amounts of money in order to take care of things. Parents can work out their differences without the court's involvement. Let me say that again. Parents can work out their differences as it relates to the children and relationship with the children without the court's involvement. As a matter of fact, the court would much rather that parents work out their situations. For example, the unmarried parents of children can make agreements on behalf of the children. Let's talk about child support, for example. Say that dad has gotten married or he's in another relationship with another individual. But there is some suggestion or agreement about paying child support or providing child support. The mom and the dad can make agreements outside of the court about paying child support. But the agreement has to be consistent. If dad says, hey, listen, I can give you $25 a week or $100 a month for child support for the children, the mom can agree to that, but it has to be consistent. You can't give $25 a day and not give another $25 a month from now. As a matter of fact, 30 days of not paying child support is considered child abandonment. Now, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an attorney, and I'm not giving legal advice, but you do need to know that parents can make decisions outside of the court getting involved. And so, dad, if you and mom can sit down and agree on an amount to pay for child support, that amount has to be consistent. But if that amount is not being consistent and you're hitting and missing, then the kids' needs are going lacking, and that becomes frustration to the mom. And then, of course, the mom wants to take other actions as it relates to child support. But you can agree between mom and dad to pay a particular amount. But once the agreement between the two is violated, then the court puts together what we refer to as a child support calculator that determines the amount that the father will pay for child support. And then, of course, even though mom and dad may agree for a lesser amount, once the agreement is breached, then the child support calculator, or the amount that you're supposed to pay, kicks in. So you can agree to pay a lesser amount. That is what is on the child support calculator if both parties agree. Okay? Persons entering relationships. Now let me say this here. Persons entering relationships where children already exist. Females, sister, I'm talking to you out there right now. Females should encourage the dad to be responsible to children born outside that relationship. Might I say that again? Persons entering relationships where children already exist, females should encourage the dad to be responsible to the children born outside the relationship. I understand that that might take money from you. It might take money out of the household. It might take money from the other children. But dad is responsible for all of the children that he has birthed into this world. And males likewise should encourage the mother to participate with the dad and allow the dad to have visitation and allow the dad to have a participatory presence in the life of these children. You've got to get behind the mama drama and the baby drama and the daddy drama and all of that stuff and work out a plan that is in the best interest of the kids. You may not care much about the mom, but dad has children from that mother. And a wonderful thing would be is that if you can move past what has happened in the previous relationship, and the mom and the dads that's in these relationships can work together to look after these children or provide for them, that even works better. For example, what I'm simply talking about is that if dad is in another relationship with another person, particularly another female, then that sister can say, hey, listen, sweetheart, you are responsible for those children. And whatever I can do, although we have children together, whatever I can do, I want to be able and in a position to help you. Okay? So now if you are an individual that is jealous and edgy and have trust issues, then you might want to consider whether or not a person who already has children is the best interest for a relationship for you. If you have gotten married and moved on and have children outside the relationship, outside the marriage, the parents are still responsible for providing child support for children outside the marriage. Yes, Dad, you're still responsible for all 5 of those other children that you have out there, even though you have gotten married or even though you are in another relationship. And yes, I'm not providing legal advice, but yes, Dad, even though you are married and have children to your wife, and in that family setting, if you have children outside of the relationship and you are not taking care of your child support and your obligation to those children, the court holds you liable. And there is a possibility that a red light, a blue light, or whatever the flashing light that they have on top of those cars might show up at your door. Be responsible for your children. Gods and earths. I was talking a little bit about gods and earths on last week. The men are referred to as gods, and the females are referred to as earths. This is an ideology or a philosophy that was promoted by Clarence Smith, who was once a part of the Nation of Islam, and they emerged a disagreement between he and Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad was teaching certain doctrines, and however, of course, Clarence Smith did not totally agree or had some differences with Elijah Muhammad, simply because Elijah Muhammad was not raising up the fact that according to his understanding and his view, that the black man is essentially a god. And so we have what we call now gods and earths. The male is a god, female is the earth, because female, the earth is where the creator produces everything. Now, let me say this here. I got to move on because I'm spending more time than I initially planned to spend. Let me say this here to you, gods and earths. Gods and earths. Gods are the coverings of earth. What does that mean? That means that this is not a dynamic of submission simply because she's the earth, she submits to me, the God. No, gods imply that I am the provider, I am the protector, as well as I am the encourager. Do I have okay, I hope that you got that. Okay, so that's for my gods and earths out there. Okay. Simply because earth is beneath you does not imply submission or do as I say. Gods is the covering. As I said before, the gods are the providers, the encouragers, and the protectors. Nothing is too much for the children. Should have thought about that before you produce them. And most times, the same way that we don't talk and plan about things, we don't plan to have children. They just somehow emerge. They pop up. But there's nothing too much for the children. You've got to come to the grips now that you have children, mom and dad, that birthday, Christmas, and Easter, and all of those holidays for you are over. Might I encourage dads out there to start saving for your children's college? How about this here? Let me give you an idea. How about setting aside a 6-pack amount each week for that child until that child reaches the age of 18, old enough to go to college? I don't know what a 6-pack costs because I've never been a drinker. But how about each week you put aside the value of a 6-pack of beer for the education of that child for each week for the next 18 years, and calculate it. You will see how much you would have to provide for your child's education over an 18-year period as a result of saving the value of a 6-pack each week. Nothing is too much for the children. Child support is calculated by the child support calculator and determines child support based upon the amount that the parents make. Now, of course, the father's income is imputed in the child support calculator. They do not calculate child support by the age of the child. And obviously that would be much more difficult. It is difficult to determine, well, what's going to be the monetary needs of a child based upon how old the child is. So therefore, the court sets up child support to be determined by the amount of income that the father makes. Okay? Parents of unmarried children should communicate, should take time and sit down and communicate to the mom or the dad of the children outside of the relationship. Let that mom know that you want to be a parent. Let that mom know that you want to be the father of the children, even though you may have moved on and in another relationship. And then also dad. Let the dad know you want him to legitimate his children and be present in their lives. Well, I went a little bit over time. I hope that I don't wear out your Facebook page on this year, but I feel that this is very important information, so I wanted to put it out there. Before the volcano effect, vacuum as you go. Talk about things that maybe set you off or that you didn't feel went too well. It was like Valentine's Day. I'm closing out now, but Valentine's Day, if brother man didn't show up and produce something for Valentine's Day, then find an opportunity where you can sit down and you can say to that brother, hey, listen, baby, you know I love you and we've been together and this was a special day for me and I felt a little some kind of way because I didn't receive my roses or the box of candy. And likewise, brothers have to sit down and talk to the sister and say, listen, baby, you're making me feel some kind of way. Well, that's enough for today. Once again, I'm Gordon. I'm a spiritual social life coach as well as an alternative dispute mediator. I hope that this has been empowering and helpful to you. Have a great day. Talk before the volcano erupts. I'm Gordon. Peace. May the force be with you.